everyone, and welcome to this AI podcast series at Nitor. I have with me today Tapan from Delivery Unit. He's leading our delivery unit here. And
I have Atlee here, who is our AI Circles head, and we are going to discuss about some interesting topic today. So Atlee, very recently in one of the town halls, our CEO Sanjeev was talking about how rapidly Nitor engagements and projects that we are working on are almost at 100% using AI in some form or the other. With this rapid evolution of technology landscape, how is the industry adapting to it?
It's a very interesting question, actually. In fact, I would see AI is moving at such a rapid pace. In fact, while we were just preparing for this, I was trying to see what is new out in AI. And I could see that what I knew even some time back, they're all getting outdated. In fact, the number of frameworks which are coming out, the libraries, the models at a daily pace is just too much. But then I always ask myself, is the industry really adopting all these technologies, the architectures, models? And many times I ask myself this one question, is the change really needed? Right? Because sometimes there's something which is already working, then why do you need to change it? Right? A good example of this would be something called as MOE. Now, we all know generative AI comes from transformers. It's been there for 4 to 5 years. Even some formulas going back even down to '08. And what I noticed in these is people now trying to disrupt the way this architecture is built. And MOE is one of these concepts. It's called as mixture of experts. And what I see is, although this technology helps us to reduce the number of parameters that are processed on a day-to-day basis for the generative AI, I would see that perhaps it is efficient, but maybe not for all use cases. I really don't want to comment on that architecture at such an early stage, but then what I see is maybe for translation, the summarization use cases, or at least some use cases that I'm working with, they really won't make use of a mixture of expert rather than a model that is, a fully fledged high parameter model. And that's the surprising part, because we need to really draw a line. Where do we change? Where do we not change? And what needs to be stable down and delivered to our customers? So, but keeping these technologies aside, I always wanted to ask this one question to you. We always see that the ones who adopted this technology would have this question rather, right? The technology, which technology to now take, what's the speed? But I really want to ask a question about these companies which are not been able to adopt AI even till date. Why do you think that adoption is not really their thing?
So primarily, from my experiences, the companies which are reluctant in adopting AI at the speed are due to their experiences with the cloud adoption. Cloud in early 2000 was the next thing to go to, and there were, millions of dollars invested in migrating their existing systems to the cloud. However, what the executives missed in understanding the challenge was related to the migration costs, the talent availability, as well as the issues with the legacy systems integration. And some of these aspects are, kind of in the back of executives' heads going on whether AI will face a similar fate or not. And from a AI adoption perspective, that's where a lot of also these executives are thinking in terms of what will be the cost, what will be the exposure to data, is there any security issues, and so on and so forth. And which is where I think they are facing challenges in adopting it as rapidly as we would expect them to adopt.
In fact, quite relative. But do you feel AI will also say fate or go by a similar fate?
No, I don't think AI will go by a similar fate because from a recent, evaluations and surveys, what we have seen, around 74% of the early adopters have started seeing ROI in terms of productivity improvements, in terms of process improvements and optimizations. And out of the 74%, 80% of them who leveraged AI agents have already confirmed a return on investments with their AI integrations as well. And hence, I feel AI would not face this similar fate. In fact, the ROI on AI is already confirmed by very recently an article from Google was talking about on the same discussion. And they do quote very similar numbers for us to be assured that AI adoption has already started.
What are they?
Some of the parameters, in terms of AI adoption, the ROI parameters, are not exactly in terms of what we think of traditional IT ROI frameworks, but they are different in terms of the adoption of AI from prototype to product, from customer experience improvements perspective, from an innovation velocity perspective, creative quality outputs. And these are some of the elements which have, helped in terms of putting the AI adoption much better than the expected rates were.
Interesting. It's interesting to know.
Absolutely. And I think, so from your perspective, Atlee, what do you think, what is the difference between the ROIs in terms of the traditional frameworks which are used to measure the traditional systems versus an AI-based system? What will be the difference, what you see?
So traditional ROI, it measures mainly cost efficiency and predictable output. But I would see generative AI being rather very, very different, because it's mainly focusing on customer success, how, things like we are trying to measure velocity, we are trying to measure quality, right, and customer satisfaction. And inherently, these are very difficult to measure. And generative AI, it is something that transforms the way how work is done, rather than just automating things. That's the reason why traditional ROI is so different from generative AI. And speaking about the ROI factor now, I do see a lot of executives taking these decisions now of making an investment in generative AI. So any key decision points that would be essential for them?
Absolutely. So one of the primary issues that I see executives, have challenges with is they try to apply the traditional ROI framework to the generative AI solutions that we are building. And essentially, their expectations are to have a linear returns on whatever the implementations we are doing. However, like you rightly pointed out, always having compounding effects, with regards to the innovation velocity or customer experience improvement, and many more different, such kind of metrics which are hard to quantify immediately. And primarily, executives also make an issue in terms of when they do not have a baseline for their existing systems, and they try to measure directly with implementing the post-AI implementations.
So their thoughts also need to improve.
Correct. So yes, that's where I think primarily, there are challenges in implementing Gen AI ROI into the new age development that we are doing. In terms of from a overall perspective, what I recommend generally is, I categorize for executives, I categorize the overall ROI in 4 categories. First category is around business impact metrics. Second is operational impact metrics. Third is the innovation impact metrics. And fourth is the risk and governance metrics. So
interesting.
Business impact metrics such as revenue attribution, your customer lifetime retention, and so on and so forth. Whereas when we talk about the operational impact metrics, these are primarily related to the productivity, the efficiency gains, the cost reductions, the error rate reductions, so on and so forth. When we talk about innovation metrics, these are around in terms of how many new ideas are generated and implemented, right from prototyping to market. What is the time it takes to roll out a product? And finally, for the risk and governance, it is primarily around the model efficiency over the time, what are the biases, and similar such metrics can be measured through those ROIs. So that's where that's my suggestion for all the executives.
Wow, that's really great, right? All right, so let's have a rapid fire round.
Absolutely.
Now, these pointers are going to be a cheat code for anyone who wants to present ROI of GenAI. All right? Okay. First question, what's the biggest red flag in GenAI ROI presentation?
Projections without baselining the ROI.
Interesting. What's the biggest metric that anyone should take from any generative AI initiative?
User adoption rate. If the system is not in use, then there's no need to measure any other metrics.
That's good. Third question, what timelines are we looking at when we want ROI from any generative AI implementation?
So, primarily we break it into 3 timelines. The shorter term timeline is of efficiency gains is still 0 to 6 months. Then we have a revenue impact timeline, which is from 6 months to 12 months. And then we have a transformational impact, which ranges from 12 months to anywhere 24 months.
Wow, 24 months, that's a long time, right? So, what steps do you guide or would you suggest to any executive who's taking a decision on any generative AI initiative? Because 24 months is really a long time.
Absolutely. So, when we talk about measuring the ROI, there are 3 horizons, which we call it. The short-term horizon is always focused on productivity gains, the cost efficiencies, reduction in dependency of any external parties which are involved in the product development ecosystem. Then we have the revenue impact, which is where I mentioned it ranges from 6 months to 12 months, which is primarily around new product launches, getting into the market faster, and new feature launches as well with the innovations that we are doing with AI. The third timeline, which you mentioned is around 18 to 24 months, is for the transformational impact. With Gen AI, there is always a compounding effect. And when it comes to measuring your, it opens up new revenue streams for your solutions that we are building with Gen AI. And that takes time for the user experience and the adoption, as I called out, and which is where the transformational metrics are something which needs time to effectively measure over the period of time, and hence it takes 18 to 24 months.
That's interesting.
So, Atlee, let me ask you this question for the executives who are listening. How do you balance the investment into AI with the risks that are associated with it?
Interesting. In fact, it should be covered up when we are talking about the ROI. And what I feel is we should break our implementations into 3 buckets. The first one will be the co-implementations, where 70% of the budget should be allocated. Anything adjacent around it should get the remaining 20%. And then there's the 10% gap, which I think it aligns to what you're talking about on the 18 to 24 months transformation timeline. So I think the remaining 10% should go there within the generative AI when any implementation is to be done, because that will assure us right governance and all the risks would be also taken care of without having too much major fails.
Absolutely right. And pretty good advice for everyone.
All right. So can we conclude on today's session?
So for the executives who are listening, I think my advice would be establish a baseline before you start implementing AI. Make sure you have your success criteria clearly defined. There are feedback loops implemented, as well as make effort to implement the ROI metrics and track it, but don't make it your only purpose to track your investments with the ROI. It can be a tool to use to be as an improvement to your overall implementation of AI, but not the only goal to achieve an ROI in terms of the AI solutioning.
Interesting. And thank you for that. I think with this, we will wind up today's session. And thank you all for listening in and tuning in to these podcast series. Do stay tuned for more. And it was really interesting to see a wonderful topic today on generative AI ROI, which in fact today a lot of leaders and industry executives are talking about. Thank you, Tapan, for being today with us and having this wonderful conversation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.